everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. My name's Mike,
and I'm Sol.
And today we're gonna talk about a movie that hit HBOMax recently, a remake of a book adaptation by the name of Father of the Bride, starring Andy Garcia and Gloria Estefan, which is a remake of the one starring Steve Martin and Diane Keaton, which was a remake of one from, I think, the 60s, which was an adaptation of a book. So this story has been told.
Elizabeth Taylor was in that one.
Taylor was in the original one. So, like, do you have a history with any of these prior movies or the book before coming into this movie?
I've never read the book, and I've never seen the original one. I've seen both the Father of the Bride, Father Bride 2 of the Steve Martin, Diane Keaton ones, and I've loved those ones when I was growing up. They would play them on like ABC Family, which I now think is called Freeform.
Sure.
But like they played it on that all the time, and so that's really my only Father of the Bride, like what I know is of those two movies.
I grew up on the Steve Martin movies. I mean, my dad loved them, my mom loved them. Yeah, like you said, they were on cable all the time. They're fantastic comedies. The original one's fine. Both the original and this first Steve Martin one, as well as the book, all tell pretty much the exact same story. They're pretty much beat for beat. This one, it hits kind of the general plot, but for the most part, it really kind of does its own thing with it. It does it with, shall we say, a Latin twist. This is about a Cuban family marrying into a Mexican family, if I'm remembering correctly. And we get a wedding coordinator who tries to throw some Spanish in there, some Spain Spanish, and it's a lot. But overall, Soul, what'd you think of this one?
I love this movie. Not very much do I see like movies that are really towards like Cuban culture or like showing like Cubans, and so the few moments that I get those, it's like just a treasure to me, because a lot of times it's more depicting Mexicans, or we saw Puerto Ricans in like West Side Story, or you saw past both the original and the one last year, and then we saw In the Heights last year that was more like Puerto Rican, Dominican. Although there's some few Cubans like there, it's in New York, so that's a little bit more towards showing like the Caribbean kind of aspect. But yeah, a lot of times it's just Mexicans, or you get maids, cholos, like gang members, narcos. That's usually how we're represented in movies. So it's very nice to just see a Cuban family and a Mexican family, crazy as they may be, just coming together in a regular movie.
Yeah, not just, but also just it's painted in such a way of like, no matter how, like, there's this weird kind of weird, there's this blend of trying to have like, yes, like they're well off and they've known a great life and great prosperity in the States, but there is still that level of tradition and things they like to hold on to, particularly like when her mom is coming in and yelling at her about how she's cooking. She's using too many onions. And when you, or you know, when things get real, there's the big standoff at the mansion. There's so much in this movie, and we talked about this off camera, where, and you can speak to this more than I can, obviously, but there's a lot of things based in like those Cuban traditions and those way Cuban, his families and Mexican families as well in the movie kind of function, that a white guy like me might on the surface find unrelatable, but kind of like what we're seeing with Ms. Marvel as well, which focuses on a Pakistani Muslim family. It's, yes, we're seeing those traditions, but there's enough relatability and enough kind of hand holding for the white people to where we can still follow along and still relate to what's going on.
Definitely. And watching this, like, it's not just about like just being Cuban American, but it's also being Cuban American living in Miami. There's so many little things in the movie that if you're not from Miami, you're not gonna. So like when he was like, "I brought snacks from Vicky's," I was just like, everyone in Miami would be like me and my mom and my dad when we were watching it. We laughed at that. I was like, I know for certain Mike or if Boggs is watching it, they're not gonna laugh at that because
No.
that's like not that's something that's very Miami. That's not
Yeah.
kind of and
I was just like, okay, Vicky's is a store or a bakery or
it's a
something.
Cuban bakery, very famous. The original ones in Hialeah, it's all throughout Miami, and that's kind of just where you go to get your pastelitos and your croquetas and your empanadas and your café con leche. And so it's like that's just like the peace offering of like, oh, I brought snacks from Vicky's, or like any Cuban that comes to like that moves away from Miami and comes back to Miami, they're like, oh, I gotta go to Vicky's, like to go get my Cuban fill. Gotta go to Vicky's, gotta go to La Carreta, gotta go to Versailles.
I would do horrible things for an empanada right now. The one restaurant in town that used to have them closed during COVID, and I'm
What Latin country empanadas?
um I
Because
think
we
they
all
were
do them differently.
I think they were Colombia because it was the place where I used to get arepas, and that my arepa place is gone, and I kind of want to burn the city down. If you've never had an arepa, then you won't understand that feeling.
Also
Anyway,
pronounced arepa.
yeah, no, look, I'm gonna say it the way I'm gonna say it. Okay. But getting back into the movie though, I think that like we mentioned, like the general plot, and let's just go ahead and there you go. Yeah, so it doesn't hit quite the same story points as the Steve Martin one does. You guys in a different kind of business. The issues he has with the wedding are more they're different because Steve Martin's is more just kind of this idea of I don't know if it's like just kind of feeling like out of control, I guess, and just being kind of a cheap ass. Whereas
Yeah.
with
These are more cultural.
this is a cultural thing. This is a confronting the tradition versus getting with the times thing. We've also got this is kind of a one gripe I had with the movie. It's a lot of subplots. There's a lot of subplots in this because we're dealing with so we're dealing with the kids getting married, but we're also dealing with the youngest daughter and her career. We're also dealing with the parents potentially getting a divorce. We're also dealing with the issues that I'm forgetting the fiance's name.
Alan?
Yeah, the issues he has with his dad and the issues between his dad and between Billy, and it's like after a while I was like, okay, seriously, like how much
You must
more are we
not watch novelas at all.
those are books. How do you watch books?
Telenovelas?
You said novellas. I was like,
Yeah,
it's not
but
a
yeah,
book.
they're just called novelas. Yeah.
Okay, well, obviously not. That's your question. But it's just for a like right around 2 hour movie. It was a lot of subplots that were going on to the point where I was kind of like, okay, cool. Who's gonna fight next? Like I was kind of wondering, like, okay, who's gonna have a problem with who next? After a while, I was kind of like, it almost felt like you could have called this movie anything. Like you call it Father of the Bride for the name recognition. You could have called this movie just about anything, really. Like it's one of those like it's Father of the Bride remake, whatever in name only, really. I don't know if that's really a criticism, is more just an observation of like it's own enough of its own movie. You could have kind of just called it whatever.
It kind of plays to the like when it rains, it pours. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like it's really focusing on the father of the bride, which his storyline, which like some of his issues with his daughter getting married are there just because of his marriage is ending.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. So and then other things are like the traditional things. So like traditionally in a Cuban or even Latin family, the families meet way before they even like talk about marriage. Like so the fact that they didn't meet the family until like after being engaged, that's not normal in
Mm-hmm.
Latin families. The guy is supposed to ask the father for her hand. So like the fact that she proposed kind of thing, and like the funny thing goes, oh, he still needs to ask me permission kind of thing. Also, not normal was like the talk between um Billy and Adan, like that was supposed to be just between them two, where they kind of modernized it by having Gloria Estefan and Sophie there, where like typically traditionally that's the males are taking
Mhm.
care of that. The father of the bride pays for the wedding. That's why he was so very much adamant. Like, I'm the father of the bride. This is what I'm paying for and what I want to pay for, kind of like things. And then the father of the groom pays for the rehearsal dinner.
Mhm.
And then traditionally too, you have where Latino weddings, you're everyone is
Mhm.
invited, kind of thing. So you're inviting like your parents' friends, their co-workers, they're kind of like associates, like those are the people coming. So those are like the more traditional, which that was the case from like my aunt, her first marriage, where like my mom was like, no, I want a small wedding. So
Mhm.
she only had 100 people at her wedding, and that's small
Oh, was that
for
all?
us. 100 people is small for us. Where like he was just like, I got 500 people,
Mm,
like on the Mexican side. Like that's
yeah.
the way it is. Like my aunt's wedding was like 300 people, I think, and they can get very very big. Nowhere near as close as Indian weddings, which they invite the whole fucking town.
It's a
Like,
it's a community event.
yeah, like those are like thousands of people at the wedding. For us, like they're large, but they're not that big.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it was a great, again, just like with Ms. Marvel, it was a great opportunity to see a different side of another culture, another group that maybe we don't see too terribly often in different things. I alluded to this earlier. I love kind of the calling out of the obviously ignorant and just kind of green to the whole thing wedding planner, flamingos and flamencos. It's like one of those is Spanish and one of those is what do you say, it was like one Spanish and one, but it was just like it's not, and it's like no,
Well,
this is work.
Cuban, we're Mexican, yeah.
Yeah. uh and I all but I one moment I genuinely loved was when the fiance's mother says, wait, why are we speaking English right now?
That was a very, and to like Latinos that are living here in America, that was like an even more, because Latinos outside of America, so the ones that like in Mexico and Cuba and all through Latin America, like they look down upon Latinos living in America a lot because we have it easier because we're living in the land of opportunity and we also are speaking English. And
Mm,
so they feel that not, we're giving up on our culture, kind of thing. So you'll see like older Latinos who were born in other countries that now live in the United States that are just like, oh, you're too Americanizado, you're too American, kind of thing. So that's kind of what they were speaking there. Like you saw it later in the movie too. It's just like, oh, he lives in New York for 4 years and now he's an American, kind of thing. So like that's kind of viewed as like a bad thing because you're losing your culture, you're losing your roots. And so that's the hardest thing about being Latin American or like Cuban American. Like they put it like living in the hyphen, where you're too Cuban for Americans, you're too American for Cubans. So
mm,
kind of like, so when I saw that part, I was just like, oh, they're really speaking to that. And I'm glad that the parents were like, well, we live in the United States, and in the United States you speak English, and so therefore like that's why we are speaking English, but we can and do speak Spanish. So
mm,
like it was kind of like that whole like talking down to like, why are we speaking English? I was like a talking down from
mm.
the people who live in Mexico talking down to people who are living in the United States.
But it was all, I love their reasoning behind it, where they're like, it's just what we've just gotten used to, and
Yeah,
they
exactly.
were very
That's
open about like, look, we love where we came from, but it's just like this is what we've had to do, and
yeah,
at this point, it's a reflex. But what I love is that they had that conversation in Spanish
yeah,
as a way of being like, it was almost like their way of saying like, oh no, 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 don't act like we can't speak Spanish. We can
yeah,
speak Spanish. There was I but the divorce subplot with the parents was it was small, it was subtle, but almost to the point where you could have kind of just not had it
I
when you
think it
really
was
think about it.
important for the plot.
Really?
Yeah, because everything, because you wouldn't really get that whole the family falling apart without him, like, also because like he would be much more happy that his daughter's getting married
Mm,
kind of thing than, so like he would have issues like, oh, he didn't ask me for her hand, or like I'm supposed to pay for the wedding, but he wouldn't have the same issues that he's having if he wasn't having marital issues himself.
yeah.
So it was really the issues of like him and his wife. It's kind of like, oh, like I'm losing my wife, I'm losing my daughter, I'm losing my family, my youngest daughter, I don't know what the fuck she's doing. Like she's not going to college and she's like off on her own world. So to him, it's just like the family's breaking.
Yeah.
And so that's what really, I don't think he would have had the outburst that he had or be going through as much as he was going through in the movie if he didn't have the marital issues.
And I get that. I think it's just I don't think we spend quite enough because there's so many other things going on. I don't think we spend quite enough time with them, like by them, like just the two of them, because we have the moment at the beginning in therapy. We have like a moment in the car, and then there's the reconciliation at the wedding reception. And I feel like I really needed to see like how this is terrible to say. I needed to see how bad their marriage had gotten.
Well,
Uh,
they had some subtle petty moments throughout
yeah,
the entire film, and like I think that makes it more real because in real life you're not going to be like this 100% of the time.
sure.
So I think the fact that there is those subtle moments, that little, like he even like, and when he's talking, this little subtle shade to his daughter Cora, like when
Mm,
he's doing the toast kind of thing, like
yeah,
there's those moments of shade that come in, or like through everyone, which that's kind of just like what we do. We're not
yeah.
nice people to each other. We're
No,
nice people, but we're not.
you are so mean to me all the time. I mean, I'm here under duress at this point.
Right.
I'm
But
thinking Morse code.
we kind of joke in my family that we're charming assholes. So like, and the
That's
fact
just a great
is,
way of putting it.
and so we need, so like we're just like whoever comes into the family
Mm,
needs to have tough skin
yeah.
because we're gonna make fun, and like, and no one takes offense to it kind of thing. So
I I have my best friend from college. His mother is full-blooded Puerto Rican. His father
mm,
is full-blooded Italian. They are from New York. His name is Vinny. Was a mechanic, so he's like a walking stereotype. And I would go to their house, and I've talked about this on stage. I'd go to their house, and they would just say some of the angriest shit to each other constantly.
and
And
no
me
one gets offended.
knowing because they would just throw it right back, or
Yeah,
his dad
exactly.
would walk in and say, Nancy, have you seen my socks? No, I haven't seen your socks, Charlie. I don't keep track of your socks. Vinny, feed the dogs. And then she'd look at me and be like, Mike, can I get you something to eat, sweetheart? Because I'm not their kid. So I'm just sitting there like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Yeah. It took some getting used
and
to.
that's how it is. Because oh, there's a joke of like we're not yelling, we're Cuban. Because like we have loud voices, so sometimes like I had friends be like, "Why's your mom yelling?" And I was like, "She's just talking.
Yeah.
We're just loud in general." Kind of. I think Gabriel Iglesias even has a joke of be like, "Why are you yelling?" I don't know. Like, and it's just like, no, we're not yelling. We're just Cuban.
There's some I was so Gloria Estefan is so good in this movie. I love her so
Mm-hmm.
much. She's a precious jewel that must be protected at all costs.
The rhythm
Um,
is gonna get you.
I I want to punch the fiance's dad in the face so hard.
He's that
He
typical rich Mexican.
he is just a stud. And now great coming together moment at the end, smoking a cigar with Billy. It's fantastic.
Pre Castro.
Freak, I want one so bad. I haven't smoked a cigar in years, but like throughout most of the movie, every time he was on screen, I was just like, I want to kick this guy in his taint right now. Like this guy is the
I
worst.
love how the women pretend to be angry with each other just
I
to like,
laughed so hard.
yeah,
We just like to make them think we hate each
yeah. But like seriously, I was telling you guys this behind the scenes. Like, there's always one in every family that ends up divorcing their wife and then getting
other.
with a much younger person and knocking that one up. And like you look at it and you're like, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There's always one. There's always one. And so it's kind
You
of
don't think there is one in your family? You are that one in your family.
and it's just so funny that like he owns a soccer team, like he has all of this money, he's like, and him and his son don't get along
Mm-hmm.
because his son is just like, I don't care about sports, I don't care about money, all the things that are important to the dad.
I love that moment at the end with Billy where he's like, man, where did I go wrong with him? And he just goes, nowhere.
Yeah.
It was such a I think the ending of this movie is perfect. It's so touching, it's so sweet. It's there's just so many great moments. I loved just this, even the sleeve falling off, and she's just like, "Do you trust me? Yeah, rip. You know what? You look good."
Yeah.
I thought this movie ended just beautifully. Also,
Yeah.
that grandma is a beast. She's like,
Yo,
I look
I'm telling
I
you
look
right
club
now,
six.
los viejitos, the older Latinos,
Uh-huh.
they party just as hard as the younger. Sometimes, so like I laughed so hard when I was like, "What time did you leave the club?" 2 o'clock. I left at
I
6
left at
in the morning.
6.
Yeah, like, and it's the thing is like they go hard and they can like drink you under their table. They can drink just they've had so much more life experience that they're drinking, they're partying, they're dancing all night long alongside the young like people. Like it's at every party you go to, like Latin party, there's always going to be los viejitos and they're having the time of their life kind of thing, unless like there's something like medical, like where they're just going to go sit in the corner kind of thing, but they're still having the time of their life. And you have to like, when you show up you have to hug and kiss them, and like basically because they're the elders, so you got to go see them first and then
Mhm.
you can go and do whatever else. And it's just to see them like just partying and having fun. Los Immortales, which means the
Oh,
immortals. And I
I
loved the fact that they were like, where's the other Immortales? And goes, they died. Goes, well, play louder.
Speaking of the music, I love that the credits roll and it's mariachi Daft Punk covers. It's a
Yes.
mariachi cover of "Get Lucky" by Daft Punk, because I hear him singing and I was like, no, they're not.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Yo,
It's right.
no,
It's
we
right up
start
there.
with Azúcar Negra by Celia
Yeah.
Cruz, which is just perfection. And then we end with, yeah, Get Lucky by Daft Punk, with the mariachi slash Cuban band version of it, because I loved that the Cuban band and the mariachis got together.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Mariachi, Here Comes the Bride. I mean,
Yeah.
love it so much. It's it's such a sweet movie. It really
Mhm.
is. It's a feel good movie. It's just the right amount of drama. There's so many great heartwarming moments. I mean, Andy Garcia is so funny in this movie.
Mm.
And so
And
is
it's so Miami.
Cora's assistant, whose name who was just kind of
Yeah.
popping up there, and he goes, can we get was it like 2 G&Ts, please? And she goes, yeah, seriously? Oh yeah, and one for her too.
One for her too. Yeah. He was
Yeah.
funny. I was like, did we even get his name? Because I went to my mom and I was like, do we find out how the chinito is related to everyone, or like how? And my mom goes, no, because what happened is the first time I saw this, I was supposed to go to the store, but then I was enthralled and I watched the first 20 minutes, and then I went to the store, and then I came after an hour and watched the end, and then I rewatched it through everything. But at the end, when I'm watching it, I was like, do we find out like how he's a part? Nope.
No, he's
That
just
doesn't matter.
his name is Ho Kwon Si. He looks familiar, but I have to go through his IMDb. But his
and
character's name is Juan, like Huan.
And I love too just like the little things, like the breaking of the stereotypes, because like kind of like of someone coming in to the family. So he was like, "Can I ask for tea?" He's not drinking coffee, Cuban coffee, kind of thing. He doesn't like sports. Both you had a scene where baseball's playing on the TV in the background and boxing is on the TV in the background. And those are the two major sports in Cuba. And like, he's just like not into that. He's not into objectifying women. So he's not having fun at the club kind of thing. So, like, just these, like, when you think of Latin men and machismo and kind of just like what the guys unfortunately are like here in Miami, and he's just a Latin man that is the opposite of that.
Yeah, it I loved so much about this movie, and like I said, there's a lot of it that obviously like you or someone else who comes from a Latino family is gonna find far more relatable than me.
Mm.
For me, a lot of it was just kind of the classic family drama. The things about it that did connect back to the movies and the book that it is based off of, down to having the wedding at the house. It was
Mhm.
just if this movie warmed
The
my
food, like the ingenuity of
heart.
Latinos and what we can do in 4 hours is incredible. Like how
Yeah,
we can make an entire party in 4 hours, honestly, like that happens sometimes where you're just like, plan A is over with. We got to figure it out. They went to Winn-Dixie.
yeah,
I'm surprised I didn't go to Sedano's because I was
yeah.
expecting them to go to Sedano's, which is a Cuban grocery store here in Miami. But they went to Winn-Dixie, and you could tell by the signs, kind of thing. Because I don't even think we saw the word Winn-Dixie, but I was
Mhm.
just like, oh, they're at Winn-Dixie, and
Yeah.
just like getting everything. Everyone, let's cook. Let's sit. You had the cajechina there, like where they roasted the pork, like the full pork.
Mhm.
Like I
But
was like,
she's like, that's the biggest one you could get.
yeah, right, exactly. Because we eat pork for like every celebration, roast an entire pig, whether like it's Nochebuena, which is December 24th, if it's Thanksgiving, parties, all that. Like that's just the food is so plentiful. It's food, it's drinking, there's cigars, it's dancing that lasts like all night long
All night.
into the early
You
morning.
missed it.
All
Damn.
night
He said,
long.
he said all night long, all night long. um, I didn't see any fried plantains. I was a little bummed, but
There was fried plantains. You were when the ropa vieja with the arroz con
oh,
frijole, and there was fried plantains there on the page,
I missed
and the
them.
very
Okay.
first one, yeah.
My TV sucks.
And
So,
I love too that like Mexican cigars. I can't wait. Like when like they're because like in Latin community, like the
yeah.
Cuban cigars are the top notch. That's what you want to get.
Oh
And
yeah. It's they're one of the most smuggled things in the world.
yeah, my cousin Amanda, Cuban American, married a Mexican from Guadalajara, and at their wedding they had Cuban cigars, and all the Mexicans smoked all the Cuban cigars before the Cubans could get to them.
By the way, was this movie sponsored by Vicks Vapo Rub,
Okay,
or
so
is that a thing?
that's a thing. So Vicks Vapor Rub is like, so whenever you have any ailment, no matter what it is, Viva Porru, Vicks Vapor Rub. Like you're putting that if you're sick, you're putting it on your chest, your nose, you put it on your feet with socks if you're sick. But yeah, literally anything. If there's anything wrong with you, you use Vicks. And that's one of like, you don't need to go to the doctor, just put some Vicks on it. It's very much like the, in the My Big Fat Greek Wedding,
I
put
was
some
about to
Windex
say
on it.
the Windex. Yeah.
But with us, it's Vicks. It's literally Vicks is for everything.
And with white
And
people, it's Sprite and chicken noodle soup. So,
yeah, well, with us we have sopa de pollo,
mhm.
which we jokingly call it Cuban penicillin. The chicken soup is Cuban penicillin.
That'll cure everything.
Um, it'll cure everything, right? And so, just like one thing of Vicks wasn't enough. Like that was so funny to me. Like every moment of Vicks and like her like smelling it and goes, "It's a miracle!" Like
I'm so hungover. Oh, it's my
you are right, but straight up, like You sniff it. You put it. Yeah, you'll put it, and you're not supposed to. They tell you not to do it. We do it anyways. You put it like under your nose and sniff it the whole. Yep.
Yeah. Mm,
So yeah,
mm.
anytime I'm sick, under my nose, on my chest, on my back, like on my feet, socks on.
I know. Yeah, I know about the feet with the socks on thing. I know that's a thing. But I was just like, okay, either this is a thing,
No,
or
it's a thing.
Vix wrote a big check.
No. It is 100% a thing.
Yeah. But again, that's also why this works so well, because A, that's just objectively funny.
Right.
And B, it still somehow manages to be cultural. And I didn't think that was possible. But apparently it is. We made Vicks Vapo Rub a cultural thing.
Yeah,
And
Viva Peru.
and so, kudos to this movie. This movie's so good.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to watch this one on HBO Max, please do it. Like, it's 4th of July coming up. You got the weekend off. Sit inside and watch this. Watch it with the family. I think it's a great family watch, especially if you're coming from a Latino family. I'm sure Soul can attest to this. Like watch this one. And if you like the Steve Martin one, put that one out of your mind for while you're watching this movie. It's not gonna hit the beats. It's like I said, it's kind of Father of the Bride in name only. It's just its own movie. But it's a good movie, and I think it's very good. So let us know what you guys thought down in the comments, or let us know on Twitter. All the Twitter stuff's in the description, and check out everything else we got going on here on the show, whether it's the Ms. Marvel reviews or our Man from Toronto review, our The Boys, and everything else going on. And next time, who knows what else we'll be talking about? It could be Thor. It could be Jurassic World Dominion again. I don't want to do that again. It could be anything. So just subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will see you guys here next time.